Hey, it's Flobo, Boyce, host of New Amsterdam Radio, the crown jewel, if you will, of the New Amsterdam Entertainment Network. But that wasn't always the case. You know, when I first started out this podcast, I had so many questions. How did I get started? How do I distribute my podcast? And frankly, my whole life changed when I found Anchor.fm. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. And best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. That's paying the bills, ladies and gentlemen. Anchor.fm. I can't wait for you to launch yours. And when you do, tag a brother. I want to hear it. Let's go.
Welcome, citizens. You're listening to New Amsterdam Radio, the podcast for creatives. Here, thinkers and doers always have a key to the city. The mayor is in, so office hours start now.
Happy New Year. You are tuned in to New Amsterdam Radio. It's the mayor, Flobo Boyce, here with you. It's been a crazy, crazy journey for this show, and I hope that this year brings a little bit more light, a little bit more ideas, a little bit more idea of exchange between creatives. We're seeing a little bit of a refresh here. We got a new podcast logo, a new intro, new opening, and we're going to have some fun with some high-class guests on the show. Let me know what you feel about the changes over at New Amsterdam, at New Amsterdam on Instagram, or at New_Amsterdam on that Twitter. My guest today is Adam Woods, a close friend of mine, especially in the digital space, person of color, doing the content thing multiple times a week, like yours truly. So I just want to sit down and learn more about his process, learn more about his mental space. And once you're done with today's episode, make sure you follow him on all the social media channels. But one more thing before we get to our interview today, just want to say I've heard about your feedback and your messages and your DMs, and we're going to be tweaking the show a little bit. A little bit more of longer interviews seems to be what the people want. Doesn't mean you're going to be shortchanged if you're a member of the Boisterous crew. That's patreon.com/FloboBoyce. We have show notes, we have photos, we have other things to make sure we have a grand old time if you decide to become a member and unlock extra content, bonus access, and all that cool stuff. Well, without further ado, here's my sit down with Adam Woods, according to Woods, right now in New Amsterdam. Welcome back to New Amsterdam Radio, the podcast for creatives. Now I'm being joined by someone that just blew my mind before I hit the record button, so I want to hear all about it. If you listen to our sister show, What's Up Flobo After Hours, this gentleman is on the show a couple of weeks ago, doing big things in the podcasting space, digital space, and it might be maybe an inspiration for those looking to start. I want to welcome, please, Adam Woods, man. According to Woods, how you doing, sir?
Good, man. It's an honor to be here. It was an honor to be on Flobo After Hours. You are somebody who I absolutely adore. It's weird because we're on Wednesday, right? And those of the wrestling space, the kind of dark cloud looming is the death of John Huber, Brody Lee, Luke Harper, and they're going to do a tribute show. And I think about, like, nobody in a business of, like, entertainment, pro wrestling, nobody had anything to say bad about him. So in that respect, Flobo, you are our Brody Lee, you are John Huber, because everybody that I've talked to, you've motivated me. Like, you try to get me into AfterBuzz. Like, you are you are the hub for content creators, so I can't thank you enough for what you do and letting me share space on your platform.
I appreciate that, man. But, I mean, you got a platform of your own. This is the reason why I wanted to talk to you today, man. According to Woods, has grown exponentially across all digital platforms. And I am jealous now because I'm like, he's live again. I'm just slacking in my boxes, eating bonbons and plantain chips. But walk me through this, man. What is According to Woods to the uninitiated?
According to Woods so I love MMA, I love pro wrestling, but according to Woods, so one of the things that I made sure that I did, right, was I didn't want to be cast in a particular bubble, right? My friends that have wrestling podcasts, if they have an MMA fighter on or a musician that they love, or right, or my friends with the MMA podcast and they have some sort of cage or whatever, and they interview somebody in a different genre, right? They're kind of limited because they've named it, right? As such, right? So for me, according to Woods, it's like whatever the fuck I want to talk about. Sorry, I F-bomb there, but yeah, well, we can edit it out. He's got
we're creatives. Okay, I accept you at face value, whatever it might be, unless you're something illegal.
Well, no illegal links going on at all. Which is, I'm a person of color that grew up in Inglewood, so that is like blue chip stock, But yeah, well. So again, according to Woods, is essentially whatever the heck that I want to talk about, because I think what I'm interested in, there might be a genre of people or a legion of people, or just one person that might be into the thing that I'm into and might not know about this other thing, right? So let's have a place for us all to converge and to reconvene and share our love for whatever. Yeah, I can charge. I mean, it's a live podcast, which I don't tell a lot of my guests until like 10 minutes before, because I don't want to get that no, right? So I'm just going to you open the door and I'm going to creep on through. But essentially it's that, like comments are open for whoever wants to jump in, because again, especially in 2020 where things are so willy-nilly, right? So
trademark.
Right, exactly. So it's just like a place for us to kind of converge, right? The guests to feel comfortable. I never want to be the guy who, when I slide into those DMs and want you to be on my podcast, people roll their eyes and be like, I never call myself a journalist, because that's not what I am. That's something that I, take. My grandfather in Fiji was the very first Fijian-born broadcaster in the country's history, right? Yeah. So broadcasting and, news and media, these are things that have been secret, in my household growing up. So with that all being said, I'm not that, but I'm a guy that might like some stuff that you might be into, that my guests might be comfortable to talk about, and let's just do this.
Wait, did you ever meet your granddad? Your broadcasting one from Fiji?
Yes, Wame Wanganisanini Sr. He was essentially trained by the BBC when he was in the military during World War II, and was stationed in Munich, and essentially used his political clout, before there was, and have the BBC guys teach him the stuff. And before the war was over, he was already broadcasting back home. So when he came back to Fiji, essentially what happened was, the ticker tape parade, the boys are home and everything, but the prime minister actually took him off to the side in downtown Suva and was like, showed him this business, building. And this building ended up becoming Fiji One, which I believe is still active today, but Fiji's first non-BBC broadcasting studio. In addition to that, my uncle, Wame Wanganisanini Jr., started the Fiji Post, which was the first non-governmental periodical in Fiji's history back in '88. So, again, these things...
Dang! Yeah. I respect that. And it's funny because we talk about what does it take to do the thing. So a lot of people that listen to the Amsterdam Radio are at the beginning of whatever that it is. Painters, breakdancers, interpretive dancers, all that kind of stuff. And it's funny because at the beginning of this pandemic 25 years ago, Adam Woods was, he was doing his thing in this corner, but I've seen it in my own eyes. Maybe it's a confirmation bias, but you have grown so wide in such a short amount of time. I got to ask you, man, what part of the sauce can you share? Is it DMs over emails? Is it going live or going tape? Is it 3 times a week versus 10 times a week? What is the mix for Adam K. Woods?
Man, here's the thing. There is none, right? There's a week that absolutely. There's a week where I will shoot out like 22 DMs, get one back. There's weeks where like everybody wants to do stuff on Wednesday, and I've done 8 on a Wednesday just randomly. I've got Zeta Zhang, who's a friend, and
we haven't introduced me to her yet. I'm just saying.
Okay.
And today Harding, you probably see those too.
No, that's happening. That's happening. No, and it's great. But she's in Taiwan when stuff got hairy, and I guess a little bit of total disclosure. But she was in California. But when stuff started getting hairy about late February, and March, early March, she was like, I'm going to Taiwan. My family's there, blah, blah, blah. She's in Taiwan right now. So when that happened, essentially, I was doing it at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Just because. Time difference.
Yeah. Well, let me go there for a second, because 3 a.m. is hardcore for anybody. But a lot of people who are contemporaries who have families will say, I don't know about these late times. I got a wife and kid. Now you, full disclosure, do have a spouse and a child, but yet you still found time to make that happen. What was the decision behind that?
Well, see, that's the thing. And it's not just, again, total disclosure, I'm actually a grandfather, bro.
Congrats,
yeah. No, I appreciate it. But so I guess I should preface it with the fact that, my wife and I have a little bit of an age difference, right? And when we met,
29 though, right?
Oh, I thank you.
30, like what?
I'm 35 this year.
Okay, so me, you're the same age as I am. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
But see, so that's the thing. So when I met my wife, she had 3 kids from a previous marriage, right? And then we had 1 together, right? So that's 4. I would hear things as, kind of demotivators, as like, oh, wait, you have a family, so you can't do this. You can't, whatever. You're from Inglewood. You shouldn't sound like this. Like, I've heard it over and over, right? People are like, I want to do the thing, so I'm just going to do the thing. I'm talking to you via a laptop now, which I purchased during the pandemic. Shout out to Best Buy. But the thing about it is my entire almost 5-year career was done straight on my phone. Every interview that I've done on my own, not with another promotion that is, basically giving me money and using their production crew or free admission media, who were very kind. And I was, driving from, kind of Los Feliz area all the way to Orange County to do a podcast, Gym Crashers and everything like that. And as these were things were just like, again, I'm not going to use anything as an excuse to, like, I see where I want to go. I saw where you guys were going in terms of AfterBuzz. I know where Rogan is. I know where Joey Diaz is. I know where whoever is, right? Yeah. I'm not going to let that stop me from getting to, at least in the conversation, to be that. Now, for me, I know that, again, Joe Rogan had 5 ways of, people knowing him when he started his podcast, right? Yeah. He was known as a UFC commentator, as a comedian. He was on news radio. He was on Fear Factor. Right, absolutely. Yes, right. So, and then there's a lifelong martial artist. That's 5 ways that people know of Joe Rogan. I don't have any of that, right? But Rogan essentially took 10 years to build this thing, and he didn't even know what he was doing. I mean, he was averaging, even being on Fear Factor, 200 views on live stream, right? So for me, at the very least, that's 5 ways people knew of Joe Rogan. I have to work at least 5 times as hard, at the very least. Yeah. Put in the same 10 years, at least 5 years. Yeah. 5 times as hard as Rogan, at the very least, right? But then I see what you're doing, right? It's almost intimidating, whether it be pro wrestling, whether it be, you and James Lott Jr. I'm all like, oh my gosh, like I kind of
just is intimidating, yeah.
I mean, jeez. And again, the fact that I've been on both of your guys' platforms and and had you guys both as guests, like, I couldn't be more honored, right? And that's another thing is, like, I saw what you guys were doing at AfterBuzz. I feel a sense of kinship to you guys, and whether you, James, Leslie Colon, George Hermosa, Jack Farmer, like all of these names, right? You guys have encouraged me so much and not even known it, right? So that's one of the things that, as a bit of gratitude, to have you guys on my podcast. Now, the thing about it was, I wanted to make sure that I built it to where people would be able to engage with you guys, because you guys are, in all of media, you guys are some of the uncut gems that, should be shown on a pedestal. So I made sure that
your lips are God's ears, man. Put me on all the pedestals,
I'm just saying.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there, man. For those of you who don't know about the Southern California area, George, I'm calling you George now. What Woods is saying, like he traveled basically 40 miles to make this podcast after Gym Crashers happened, which could be up to 2 hours in traffic on a Friday. Mm-hmm. So that's just crazy.
On a Tuesday.
That's not even a cool day. But and also, man, I think it really is a case of iron sharpen iron. The wrestling crew in AfterBuzz, which is this, I guess, defunct or dormant media company, the wrestling kids were kind of by themselves. But even then, on the way out, where we all got released into the wild, and we're like, well, what are we doing? I was under the impression is I would do whatever I can to build up as many people ever. Because let's say someone, hopefully like you were saying, sees a video of me hanging out with Leslie Colon and Jack Farmer. I want them to be like, oh, that's Jack Farmer from that thing, and Leslie from that thing. This is the Rat Pack, as opposed to being like, who's that? Who's that? So, like, if anyone has any questions or they wanted me to fill in for them because their guest dropped out, if I'm available, I'll totally do it. But I want to talk about According to Woods because as an end user, though, sometimes I go on your page and I'm like, how did he get him, her, them, all these people? How'd you shoot your shot? That's the one thing I know personally I want to learn is the bravery it takes to make that call.
No, 100%. And I appreciate the kind words. But for me, again, so the last 4.5 years, almost 5 years, I've done MMA shows, Weekend Warrior, where I've cultivated relationships with a lot of, the fighters that you see on TV, and to me, most people will see like, the names of like a Frank Trigg, or they'll see a Josh Barnett and not know that, it wasn't just like a happenstance thing. I met Josh Barnett when he was cornering one of his fighters for an MMA fight for Combate Americas, right?
Yeah.
So it's essentially 4.5 years worth of, relationships are cultivated that I can just be able to say, hey, you want to do these things? And it's not just like those names. It's you guys. It's, the guys at Keyboard Warriors MMA, the guys Verbal Tap with Rafa Sparza, like other content creators and podcasters, and taking a little bit from them, learning, literally, flying by the seat of your pants and seeing what you guys are doing, what I can work, what I can bring to you guys, because that's the other thing. I also, if I'm taking, I also want to give back. So whatever
True.
I'm using, that's it. So I call to this. This is a coat of arms that has been with me since like my middle school year, where I remember Crozier Middle School, they're on the bulletin board outside. It said it takes a lifetime to become an overnight success. Now, my mom made sure that my sister and I, we took that in, right? And I think it relates to this, right? Is everybody will see like a big name or, 250 podcasts at the very least since July, right? But not know that it took all of these things, or maybe going to a jiu-jitsu thing, or, befriending somebody at a wrestling show, and, like that will get this interview. And then it becomes a Pandora's box. Now I have a fan. Shout out to Everett Osmer in Alabama, who, he's been sending me people from Alabama, like, and Bellator fighters, and just like, it's so crazy, and then they've become my friends. And then they're like, oh, my friend is fighting, or there's a wrestling match going on here, or whatever the case may be. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I think it was right around, I want to say it was like September, right? Where I was just like, I didn't want, and I had only been doing it about a month and a half at that point, but I didn't want to go on any of my timelines, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, whatever, the Instagram, right? And see somebody doing something, right, of note, especially during this time, right? They're doing something. They're opening a business during a pandemic. They're having a fight. They're wrestling a match. They're doing a podcast or whatever. If they were doing something and they were on my timeline, you damned it, I got in them DMs and like, hey, you got the thing? Let's go ahead and promote it. And like they've obliged,
Yeah. I think that's the most inspirational thing ever. I will definitely clip that out and play it over and over again because I know you get kind of in your own head. At least from I do when you have trying to make the best show possible and cutting up your episodes is that oh man, let me break that circle out of my circle of friends and I've had middle to success, but the numbers of people you've gotten that I know you don't know by one generation or 1 degree, maybe a second degree, is astounding. I guess the question I have then when it comes to sliding the DMs and making the ask, they're doing the show. I mean, when do you feel like you made it? You said you got a fan, which fans I think is always a benchmark of someone on the path to something. Is there a point in your life career you feel like you made it, or are you still pressing on, or where do you feel in the headspace currently?
Well, see, the thing, this was the thing. This is the thing that I always wanted to do. I always, like, if I would have talked to my mom, who is dearly departed, and tell her, I've got a studio in my house, right, that I can just talk to whoever I want. And she's like, you better go ahead and use it, right? Mm-hmm. My dad, who is a musician, same thing. Right? You've got a studio in your house, use it, right? So that's the thing. And I don't, as creators, right, and especially, you know, I'm a son of a tortured artist, I guess they call it busking now, but we call it street performers. My dad was essentially playing his music at Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco, and that's the reason why I never was able to go to judo class or anything when I was a kid, because like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, those are tourist days. Those are the days that we worked. My dad didn't get to the acclaim where he was a household name, right? So I knew that, right? And I knew that was festered, right? So for me, I kind of looked at that and I'm like, I'm not going to be that, right? I'm not going to be tortured. I'm going to make my voice known. I'm literally shout it off to the rooftop. And again, if I see somebody's going on, like you had Leslie Colon on and whatever, I'm tweeting that. You had Emily May. I'm tweeting that. Like
I saw that
those are no, but that's it. It's just like now we are the Walter Cronkites. We are the Dan Rathers. We are exactly this. Because if I look at any news, agency or what have you, a lot of their local footage is shot by courtesy of, and it has somebody's Instagram handle. So to me, we're not any different, than the people that have gone, 2, 4, 6 years to, in college to do exactly that. And here's the thing. I went to radio school, right? I literally was going from Inglewood to Huntington Beach, Beach and Edinger behind the BJ's, to the Academy of Radio and Television Broadcasting, right? And that was 4 hours each way, and I only had Thursday and Sundays off, right? And the only thing that prevented it from happening, right, and me getting a job with K-Rock or whatever the case may be, and that was the mindset, was the fact that in 2003 here in LA, we had a bus strike. So I couldn't go, had to pay $20,000 worth of tuition that I don't have a degree or even a certificate of completion for, right? Yeah. But these, to me, I think there are outliers, right? When you look at like a Ronda Rousey who plays bronze, in judo, right? Olympic judo. When you look at Daniel Cormier, a two-time simultaneous 2-division, UFC champion, right? And he was fourth the Olympic team, right? If there was a 4th place medal on the Olympics wrestling, that would be DC, right? But those things happen, right? Because if they had gotten the golds in their respective ventures, would they have gone on to do what they ended up doing after all of that? And that's to me, all of these things had to happen. The fact that, I, again, went 4 hours each way, had it all derailed by, a bus strike, something completely out of my control, meeting my wife, having a family, having my dad pass away, my mom passed away, all of these things, my uncle passed away, like all of these things, because I don't know if any of those things would be essentially restored, that I'd be doing this, because I would be comfortable. Like, yeah, I've got my mom here, I've got my dad here, or, my mom would probably be like, no, AJ, you should be doing it this way and that way, and kind of nitpicking and whatever. So, like, don't curse or whatever the case may be, right? So like,
curse all you want,
yeah,
man.
yeah, no, but that's the reality of it, right? So in many ways, like I'm reaching, and to go back to what you were saying in terms of like knowing where you made it or not, I'm still not completely convinced that my parents are proud of me, right?
I'm the feeling.
So with that being said, I'm going to work so hard. And again, this is something that I can't. It's not tangible, right? Like knowing whether your parents are proud of you or not. They're not here. I can't get that from them, vocally or what have you. So for me, I'm just like, okay, I need to feel like they're proud of me. I'm a little bit closer because I mean it's so crazy. My dad passed away, massive heart attack, Christmas morning of 2010, and my mom passed away 3 years later, instantaneously through a brain aneurysm on December 4th. Right, so essentially, same month, 3 years apart. The holidays are always tough for me, especially this year. But it got a little bit easier because I know I'm a little bit closer to fulfilling whatever their legacy and what they wanted for me was than I had been in years past. So I think that's it,
Is this it? Is according to Woods it? Is it broadcast?
No. I'll always do this. I will always do this. And but I think I'm a little bit closer to making my parents proud. But this is my art. As somebody that didn't have a secret talent, that wasn't athletically gifted. Heck, I'm half American descended of slaves and half Fijian, right? The same similar, genealogies run through none other than The Rock, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm all of 5'9".
Yeah.
Didn't get that. I've got women in my family on both sides of the family that are 6 foot plus, right?
Right.
So, I mean, and theoretically speaking, the way that I charted my life out to be as a 18-year-old kid, I was going to the Air Force and whatever. But after that all happened, I was going to get the growth spurt at 21, much like my dad did, right? And then I would wrestle probably for in Japan, right? Until I blew my knees out, and then I would settle down in a commentator spot somewhere in a North American promotion.
It's very specific. So specific.
I'm kind of specific until I'm not, right?
Right.
So with that all being said, that was it. But obviously there are things that have happened, like my dad being a musician, right? I couldn't go to the Air Force despite having 4 years of, high school ROTC that they were going to give me E3 rank and pay and a $15,000 signing bonus. Again, this is like post 9/11. So you got to keep everything in the context where they were just grabbing people left and right. And I scored really high on the ASVAB to go to the Air Force and what have you. But I literally tested 4 times my hearing tests, and I failed each one worse than the one before it. Right? I'm deaf as a doornail, right? But again, those are those outliers that essentially prevented me, but also enabled me to do what I'm doing now.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because if we're about the same age, then the towers fell for me my junior year of high school, which I was 16. It was the perfect time to do a list, right? And it was my hometown. I mean, half my town was embellowed in smoke, and I wanted to be in the Air Force as well. And I was too heavy. The reason why they couldn't sign me, I was at the time I was 5'9", 275 on my JV football team, and I realized after they turned me down, my mom was when she came to this country, she wanted to be an Air Force nurse, and they told her the same thing. And I was 2 generations of fat asses. Mom was stop swearing. I'm whatever. But it's funny because that would have turned in a total different direction in my life. Because if I went to the military, I probably wouldn't have gone to a liberal arts college in Florida for communication. I wouldn't have done the film school thing. I wouldn't have done I have no idea. It would be a whole different pot of pumpkin, my mom would say. So,
hey, pot of pumpkin, I like it.
Yeah, it's a very, very, very Caribbean thing. So before we went live, you were talking about the fact you have a clothing line. I want details.
Oh, guys, so I try to keep it under wraps, but
why?
Essentially, right now, I did the whole legal Zoom. This is the one thing that I did absolutely legit, right? I went and got the
one thing.
I mean, this is a $12 mic from Amazon. This is a $12.
Same thing.
Yeah. So
look,
I mean, but the one thing that I went legit about was the fact. See, and I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. But that's the one thing. Like, and so the brand that I guess I'm not the what do they call it? Like the fairy investor and everything like that.
Angel investor, yeah.
Angel investor, right? Much like how Joe Rogan did On It, and he'll let it slip, and like we here at On It, I'm like, I got you.
I see it.
Yeah. So essentially, Vintage Grappler, and I can speak in now because I've gotten one set of paperwork. So Vintage Grappler, that is my clothing line, and when you see the logo. And I'll DM you that, and I probably should have done it before, but essentially, so according to Woods, right? Woods is my last name, and one given to me by, my genealogy from my father, right? So that was one way of honoring my dad's side of the family's legacy, right? And I'm Woods, like I'm not Adam, like. Fuck, nobody's ever called since I was in ROTC 9th grade and fat as shit too. Yeah. Like nobody's called me Adam. Like, and I would get into fights because, hey, Adam, where's Eve? And bam, that's
I'm triggered.
That's how we do. Yeah, 100%. My wife was like, "Oh, we're having a boy, Adam Jr." I'm like, "Fuck no,
no one deserves that." Nope.
Yeah, so we went with Owen, which, yes, of course, of Owen Hart and. Really? Owen Hart, yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
She let me do it.
Yeah, I was about to say, women don't usually.
Absolutely. Yeah. But the thing about it is Owen Hart and I share the same birthday of May 7th.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah. And does The Rock is May 7th? Oh, he's May 2nd.
May 2nd, yes.
Yeah.
So Owen Hart and I, we share the same birthday. And again, I kind of mentioned Brody Lee in terms of like somebody that nobody had anything bad to say about, right? And that's one thing about Owen, right? Is when he passed, nobody, outside of Steve Austin, but obviously because the pile driver, the
Heart and Soul, 97.
Yeah, absolutely. He has a reason to grind an axe, right? But one thing that was prevailing in terms of people's story, even so many years after, was how fun Owen was. How much of a prankster, a ribber he was, right? So I'm like, if my kid is going to get anything, hopefully he could be a quarter of good as Owen Hart. So that's it. And my kid fucking plays pranks on me, shares memes and shit like that. I'm like,
called it.
Yeah, I did it. No, but yeah. So with that all being said, it's just like, man, it's kind of a crazy ride to think about it, because like I see people starting podcasts today, and like I'll slide into the DMs like, hey, this is great. I took a listen to it, blah blah blah. Like you could do this, I don't call it advice because
sure, I'm the same way.
Yeah, I'm not a guy, I'm trying to make it myself, right? So, but I will offer encouragement, right? Whereas a lot of people, especially, and that's one thing that I love about like the MMA kind of combat sporty world or whatever, because in any other instance, right, you're going for a particular position, you're applying for a job, right? You're trying to get a promotion or whatever. People will fucking undercut you like a motherfucker. Will sell out their own damn mama, whatever. And if that's you, do you, boo-boo, right? But, I mean, that's not me, right? So here, in this kind of entertainment, combat sport, whatever space, like we're creating what I feel is what, the forefathers of what ended up becoming Warner Brothers or Paramount or all of these things, right? We're basically cultivating that. We're creating our own Marvel Cinematic Universe via YouTube and everything, and moreover, supporting each other. Okay. That is it. And whatever this next phase of, whether you call it media, entertainment, content creator, whatever you want to call it, but it makes no difference to me. Whatever you want to call it, that's awesome. But whatever this next phase of what our understanding of what this median is, we're gonna do it, and we're gonna do it looking back at it in the rear view, going like, these are the exact things that we did to get here.
True.
Right. And not only that, but we're going to be able to, have an adult beverage or 8, and drive responsibly, obviously. But, and we're going to do it together. Right. And I'm going to look over at Flobo and I'm like, dude, you made it. You made it. And Gormoza and Jack Farmer and Steve Kaufman. And and I'm going to be able to share these things with you guys and you guys with me. And, your path is going to be different than mine. And that's awesome. And what you learn from this, zinging instead of zagging and what have you. And that might be the thing that I might need to jump into the next phase of the career, like whatever the hell. But again, we're not selling each other out. You didn't have to have me on here. So I'm eternally honored to have you to be here in your space, so it's that for me, and that's the most, I guess it would be gratifying, right? The fact that we don't have to sell each other out. I'm going to share your guys' shit on the people that follow me because I fucking love not only you guys, but the shit that you guys are creating.
And absolutely, so that's the reason why it's vintage. Kind of this whole community idea, the community aspect of the brand, Vintage Grapplers, you sell you out, I'll sell you out, and
and here's the other thing. So, when I'll send you the logo, my deal was okay. We've got According to Woods, and I've got my dad's side of the family essentially set, right? With my mom's side of the family, yes, I'm doing the broadcasting thing that my grandfather did or what have you. But essentially what I did was I basically used my grandfather's face as kind of the centerpiece of the logo, right? Mm-hmm. Because I heard my mom when we were, not having great financial luck or, what have you. Man, I wish my dad would have done his thing here in America rather than Fiji, and people would know, and we would have a better life, right?
Right.
So for me, that was very important to use my grandfather's image and what have you, because it's essentially like what my mom would have wanted, right? Sure. And not just that, but the fact that, we have friends in wrestling. I've got friends in MMA, right? And, they might have as a additional bonus to essentially buy a ticket, right? Or to have people buy tickets from them for whatever show that they're fighting at, working, whatever. They have fight shirts, right? And I mean, I'm not calling anybody out, but some of them look like dog shit.
Because it's quick and easy, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to have something. I look at Roots of Fight, right? They make shit, if you get a Jack Johnson, vintage inspired, whatever, you're not thinking about Jack Johnson or whatever. You don't care about Julio Cesar Chavez. I don't know why you wouldn't, because he's one of the greatest ever, but those are the things that happen, right? They just wear it because it looks fucking cool. So I wanted to have a combat sports kind of essence, right, thing that tied in my grandfather, but also grappler. That could be a wrestler. Amateur, professional, collegiate, or what have you. That could be a catch wrestler. That could be, there's so many things. That could be, a jiu-jitsu head. That could be a judo head. Whatever that case may be. But I wanted to, much like this has a Hawaiian gal on it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck that means, but it looks cool, and I bought it. Right? So it's my hope that Vintage Grappler would be exactly that. You might not be into fucking grappling. And that's also where the podcast is too. I want you to watch and listen and not give a shit about MMA. It's great that you're not a fan of MMA. And that's one thing that Rogan does, there's many people that they don't skew it to a particular genre. They just fuck it. Here it is. If you like me, you'll probably be into this shit. But even if not, you at least know the person's name. So that's essentially what Vintage Grappler is. It's fucking putting shit out there that even people that aren't in the genre, that aren't super hardcore into the shit that I'm into, will still buy the shirt, like it, rep it, post it on social media, and what have you, and hopefully encourage more sales.
So, 2 questions. 1, what kind of shirts? We're talking things actually wear in the ring, or street casual? And 2,
street casual.
Is it out yet?
Oh, no. So it's not out yet. But if you went down a particular social media wormhole and you look maybe on Facebook, maybe on YouTube, maybe on Instagram and Twitter, Snapchat and TikTok even. There is a vintage grappler page with nothing on it. That happens on launch day, folks.
So you're not even going to tell me when's launch day? You're just going to be like, yeah, just follow it now. Let you know.
Hey, I don't know when fucking LegalZoom is going to snap my fucking papers back.
If it's LegalZoom, I did a DBA this year. It took me 3 months. So if a DBA is 3 months, I'm thinking the normal time times 1.5.
Okay, yeah, there we go. That's it.
Yeah, because I had to do that to get the business loans.
So I guess launch date is like sometime in the summer is what Flobo's saying.
Yeah. If you can't get Easter, man, might as well make it a summer thing.
I love Easter pastels and fucking Easter eggs.
Yeah, I love Easter wear. It's definitely well, if you were a church person, that was what you show out in church with your yellow suits and your purple hats, and it was a cool time. Hey y'all, how's it going? No, I'm highly favored. No, I'm so 2021. It's the day this releases is already 2021, but we're recording it a couple days before that. I'm not sure if you're a guy that does resolutions. If you do, let me know. If you don't, that's cool. But what are you looking forward to accomplish in the following 12 months?
You know what? I'm actually doing everything that I love, right? There's nothing in years past. There have been things that have essentially eluded me, right? And that I was just like, maybe next year or what have you. I have a wife, have my kids. I'm doing podcasting. I got this clothing line deal. So just to further all of that shit, yeah, I can probably fucking lose a couple pounds. I'm going to essentially hashtag unfat fuck myself. Because right now, and I'm all for, yeah, I know. And here's the thing. I'm all for body positivity and body image and whatever. But again, like I said, my dad died of a heart attack. My mom died of a brain aneurysm, right? So with that all being said, for me to be a fat fuck, and that's how I'm going to identify myself, I'm a fat fuck right now, right? And I should know better with all of the things that, and there might even be a unfat fuck yourself vintage grappler shirt. That might be in the works. But with that all being said, yes, why not? I'm just saying. So, I mean, one way to find out if your church is Unitarian, that's one way to figure it out. But anyway, I mean, I essentially want to do exactly what I'm doing, but better, optimize whatever fucking process that I've got. And then, I actually want to. So NAGA, which is the North American Grappling Association, is a grappling organization that, kind of encompasses whether it be catch wrestlers, judokas, jiu-jitsu people, what have you. And, they basically see who's the best out of the styles, right? And it's something that, you can fucking pay your money and then, get a medal or whatever. But when you get to a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, you get to essentially contend for a North American Grappling Association or NAGA title, right? An actual title belt. Now, I'm good if you're the jiu-jitsu heads that wanted to get a fucking gold medal in the Worlds and the Pan Ams or whatever the fuck or whatever. But, I mean, I'm not an Olympian. I grew up a fan of fucking pro wrestling, right? So, in my head, the greatest parable in life is you get your ass kicked 364 days out of the year, and the one by your foe, and the one time that you get to kind of turn it on its ass and beat the shit out of your foe is this kind of WrestleMania big pomp and circumstance type scenario. Not only do you topple your foe, but the largest stage that there is, right? And essentially get a belt for your efforts, saying that signifies that you're the best in the world of what you do, right? So for me, NAGA is that. And I need to contend for a belt. I need to be a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. So 2021 is going to be the start of my quest for a purple belt so I can get the belt that matters, the North American Grappling Association title.
Oh, man, I hope you get that, because that sounds like a whole big deal. I'll make sure I'll do the whole Byron Saxon. He done it! He done it! At Adam K. Woods, according to Woods, how many Woods can I say in a nickname? Thanks so much for being on the show, man. You got to come back soon. I want to see how everything goes, especially on launch day of your brand. I might bring you one for that. But here is the most formulaic question on the planet. Where can the world find you online to stalk and be part of your stuff, fun and stuff, and brand?
Oh, I'm glad that you asked that, good sir. So it's literally according to Woods on every social media feed except for Twitter, where I'm Adam K. Woods. But if you put it in the Twitter machine as according to Woods, you'll still find me. And literally everything, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, whatever, literally I went ahead and did that whole link tree thing. So it's going to be a wormhole. When you get to one thing, you're going to find the other. So the YouTube page is according to Woods and whatever. But if you go to the YouTube page, you're going to see the link tree. You go to the Instagram page, link tree. That, you know the deal.
Link tree's a game changer for sure. And once again, the Vintage Grappler social media accounts?
That's a Vintage Grappler on literally everything. And again, it's tentative.
Thanks so much for listening to New Amsterdam Radio. Learn more about the show at newamsterdam.com. That's KNEW Amsterdam.com. Until next time, this city is yours.